Welcome folks who are joining the webinar this afternoon. We're going to take another 30 to 60 seconds to let folks get settled. This is Recycling and Waste Programs in Residence Halls. This is the first Kirk webinar, so you are in the right place.
Corey, do you see the chats? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to make her a analyst.
It looks, I think I can do it. I think there's a way to do like promote to panelists.
Great. If you want to work on that, Jamie, I will get started.
Oh, wait, I think I hit the wrong person.
All right, I'm going to get started as we work on some background stuff. Oh, I see Morgan there, so I think we're good. Thank you for doing that. Welcome, everybody. And oh, let me, almost forgot to share my screen there. I knew there'd be some right away. Okay, welcome everybody to Recycling and Waste Programs in Residence Halls. For today, this is the 16th of February. You're in the right place. This is Kirk's first webinar of 2023. I'm very excited to be here on this day. And again, welcome to the first webinar of this year. We have about 6 this year that we'll go over. And today's presentation, as you know, is going to cover recycling and waste programs in the residence halls. My name is Corey Berman. I am the Zero Waste Program Manager at the University of Vermont and a member of the Marketing and Programs Committee of Kirk, which is the College and University Recycling Coalition. I'll be your moderator throughout the day with some help from my colleague Jamie Pavey, who will do some stuff. And we have a wonderful panel today, including Jennifer Wilson, Carla, Iansiti, and Alec Cooley from Bush Systems. We'll say a few words in a moment. For those of you not familiar with Kirk, the College and University Recycling Coalition, we are a member-based organization that works to grow collegiate recycling and waste reduction efforts by fostering information sharing, educational support, and networking opportunities between staff, faculty, and student leaders, all of which are working to implement reduction and diversion programs across our campuses. Today's session is part of our free Kirk webinar series that runs every other month, all year long. The webinar series is designed to highlight innovative campus programs and provide trends and perspectives on a broad range of operational and educational topics related to collegiate recycling and sustainable materials management. As I mentioned, today's program is the first of 6 this year. There'll be more details to come about the ones coming up. The next one will be in April. Before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping notes to go over. If you have problems with your audio or video during the webinar, please visit Zoom's support center by visiting support.zoom.us. To avoid background noise, we've placed all but our panelists' lines on mute. As always, we encourage you to submit questions at any time by using the Q&A section to type in a question. We'll get to as many of those as possible at the end of each presentation. Of course, we'll happy to stick around and answer other ones as well. We'll be sharing contact information as well to chat with folks afterwards. For general comments or notes outside of questions, please feel free to use the chat function on the dashboard. Copies of today's presentation slides will be available to download, and the full recording will eventually be available to stream on the Kirk website, which is www.kirk3r.org. All right. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Alec Cooley of Bush Systems. He's our sponsor. Bush Systems is our sponsor for today. Alec has a long history with Kirk. He comes from the campus recycling world, having managed recycling and waste reduction for Humboldt State University many years ago. He helped launch and produce the Kirk webinar series for 10 years and is now a senior advisor with Bush Systems. Again, we're very fortunate to have them on board as our sponsor today. Thank you, Bush Systems. Thank you, Alec, for being here. And the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Corey, for the introduction and for the opportunity to say a few words. I will just keep it quick because we're all here to hear from Georgia State and Michigan. But I did want to just make a quick introduction about Bush Systems for those of you not familiar with the company. We are based in Barrie, Ontario. We've been around for about 35 years, and our company is a manufacturer and distributor of a whole range of waste and recycling bins. I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but I just want to give you just a quick sampling and idea of what we do. We make bins for all different types of front of house situations for all the different settings and styles that you might want on a college campus, from residence halls to the president's suite to the venues and stadiums. So we've got a wide range of bins to select from. I'll point out that our bins, everything is made here in North America. We use post-consumer recycled content in many, if not most, of our different types of bins. So really, we're trying to walk the talk and be there actually engaging with sustainability on a meaningful level and not just simply selling bins for that. A lot of what we do, our designs are based around the best practices of what we know helps to influence people, get them to recycle correctly. And so as you can see here, we've incorporated a lot of these best practices. We are a very client-focused company. We understand that every campus has its own needs, and customizing can be real important. We've got a great team of staff who are here to work with you. I'll just give a shout out to my colleague, Michelle Dunn, who I think many of you know and have worked with over the years. She manages all of our sales for the college, university, and just education setting in general. But she's been with the company for many years and has lots of great feedback, very helpful, always ready to engage and answer questions that you have, provide quotes, or just do some brainstorming. So I encourage you to reach out to Michelle if you ever have questions and want to learn more about our products. Real quickly before I hand it back over, I just want to also make a shout out for sort of my role here with Bush Systems. I'm not involved with the sales or the marketing side. They brought me in about 4 years ago to be the resident expert on recycling and how we put programs together. And their understanding is that as a company, Bush Systems succeeds when actual local programs succeed. And we know that's not simple. As Corey alluded to, I started my career out with the university. So I'm very familiar with all the challenges that come with how do you not only get effective programs in place, but how do you get people to participate? There can be a pretty steep learning curve. I've always been surprised how simple it seems to outsiders until you actually put yourself in that situation where you're trying to manage the program and all the different factors involved. So my role in the company is to help put together those resources, encourage research around what are some of the best practices, whether it is using centralized collection programs, how do we map and place bins in the right place so that we're engaging people and helping them to participate. And so that's a lot of what I do. Specifically, there's a webinar series, a separate webinar series that we do that is not just college university focused, but we work with other settings too, local government, healthcare, corporate venues, so the wide range of institutions doing similar programs to what Kirk does. And we also have an archive of past programs. I won't go through all these, but I'll just point out some of these programs we've done. And I also write a blog where I talk about a lot of these best practices, trying to point people to different resources. So just want to make a shout out there. If anybody ever has questions, wants to reach out, you can reach me at my contact information, or again, my colleague, Michelle, if you have product specific questions. But again, thank you for the opportunity to sponsor the program and support Kirk. We appreciate all the great work that Kirk has been doing for going on over 30 years now. So I'll hand it back to you, Corey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Al, so much. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thanks again to Bush Systems for their support of this. We really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Now to the panel at hand. We have with us today Jennifer Wilson, who's the Manager of Sustainability Initiatives at Georgia State University, and Carla Iansiti, Chief Sustainability Officer at Michigan State University. So we're going to kick things off with Jennifer Wilson. And before I get into it, as we all know, we're all here because recycling and waste programs in residence halls, it's one of, if not the basic foundation of many of our programs, right? Refocusing efforts is really important to address changes in acceptable materials, consumer behavior, and collection technology. Addressing just a few of these challenges that we face in designing and implementing these programs is what they're going to talk about today. These are often what students come into contact with first at our institutions and can make or break perceptions of campus recycling programs. Beyond that, while we all agree that we cannot recycle our way out of climate change, these programs are truly bedrocks of sustainability efforts nationwide. Our expert panelists are here to discuss these approaches and solutions to these issues. And again, I thank them in advance for spending some time with us. Jennifer Wilson runs the Office of Sustainability Initiatives at Georgia State University, the largest university in Georgia and one of the largest in the country. She oversees a 6-person recycling team that is responsible for diverting over 10 different waste streams collected across 19 million square feet. In addition to recycling and waste diversion, she focuses on student and faculty engagement, energy, and alternative transportation. In addition to 7 years in sustainability operations in higher ed, she spent 4 years at the State Energy Office, where she oversaw $40 million in grant funds to advance energy efficiency and renewable energy projects, and 4 working with local governments on the Millennium Development Goals. Jennifer is working towards her master's in sustainable energy and environmental management at Georgia Tech, with an expected graduation of August of this year. So that's exciting. And I'll hand it over to you, Jennifer. Take it away.
Great, thank you. And so I am going to figure out how to share my screen real quick. Let me do.
Yep, we can see that. We just need to, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Great. Okay. As I mentioned, we're the largest university in Georgia. We've got 52,000 students. We're also among the most diverse university in the US and the most diverse institution in the world. We were predominantly a long time a commuter campus. We were becoming increasingly a residential campus. So we've got 6 residence halls housing 5,000 students. We're located downtown Atlanta. The majority of our students are in downtown Atlanta, but we do have satellite campuses throughout the metro Atlanta area. None of those have housing, so we're not going to talk about those today, but our team services all the entire university. We have a 6-person crew, and as Corey said, we service 19 million square feet across every single building. We have over 10 waste streams, and last year we diverted over 200 tons per year across these 10 waste streams. I don't expect you to read this materials flow chart, but this was put together by a consultant for our materials management plan last year. And everything in blue under indoor is stuff we pick up, our team picks up. Everything under hauler that's blue is things that we actually ourselves are hauling. So we are our own hauler for quite a few of the materials that we're collecting. And then you can just see where we're bringing everything to market. And so we've got listed, cardboard, plastic bottles, paper, books, metal, e-waste, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, various things that we're collecting and bringing everything to different vendors. As I mentioned last year, we completed a materials management plan. This was completed in 2022. This was funded actually by the Recycling Partnership and completed by Cascadia along with our partner ECO. And so this materials management plan helped us to kind of get a better lay of the land for where we were in terms of recycling operations at Georgia State, but also helped us to create a roadmap of where we wanted to be going forward. One of the things that this MMP identified was the potential for increased diversion in various generator areas. So for example, for residential housing, through some waste audits, they determined that about 81% of what we were currently landfilling actually had the potential to be recycled, with a significant chunk of that compostable materials. But we are starting right now with the recycling piece of that in terms of what we could start collecting that we were not recycling previously to this MMP. So residential recycling, how it started. Initially, when we were getting off the ground, we put a bunch of 95-gallon bins out per location. Things weren't labeled, or maybe they were labeled, but labeled poorly, or maybe the label was, 5 feet to the right of the bins. Everything was single stream. We had just a lot of contamination and really no set pickup schedule. It was very reactive. So when it was overflowing, we'd go and service it. And really quickly coming in and looking at this, we realized this setup really was not working. We were trying to have a residential recycling center, but really we were just having a new spot to put trash and contamination. So one of the first things we did was establish a formal upgraded residential recycling center. And we branded it. As you see, there's a nice sign in the background that says Recycling Center at Piedmont North. That created a sense of place. So people would say, oh, where do we recycle? We say, look for your recycling center. And we would use this terminology over and over again. Look for the recycling center at Piedmont North. We do social media around this. We do posts around this. We do flyers and website around it. But we use that terminology over and over again. And we create these signs in-house. So this is an outdoor recycling center. So if you're driving into this specific residence hall, you're going to see this on your way in. If you're walking out one of the doors, you're going to see it right there. We also moved away from single stream because of all the contamination that we had and the confusion. We moved to multi-stream system with these color-coded bins. So left to right, the large blue bins are for cardboard, and they are labeled in the front for cardboard, and they're also labeled on top for cardboard. The red is labeled for plastic bottles, and again, labeled on the top and on the front. Yellow is for cans, the smaller blue one is for paper, and the green is for glass. One of the reasons we went with, these are 32-gallon bins, not the traditional 95, and one of the reasons we went with this is that we could easily scale it up or scale it down. So let's say that we see that we need a lot of plastic bottles in a certain area, we can quickly add some more bins in there for plastic bottles. Or if we realize we're not maybe getting so many cans, we could take a can one away. And so it lets us scale it up. The other reason we went with the small bin is that if we had contamination and we had to throw out the quantity of a bin, we were only impacting one bin, a 32-gallon bin. We weren't impacting one 95-gallon bin. So it let us sort of decrease any risk of contamination, impacting a larger sort of volume of recycling. And so this is what we established at the recycling center at Piedmont North. And we immediately had really positive responses to folks. Folks would see it, folks would respond to it. And these are some early pictures. Well, so okay. So then we established some other ones. We established one at the Residential Recycling Center at University Commons, which holds 5,000, so 3,000 students. And then one at the Recycling Center at University Lofts. We had some students involved in Alternative Spring Break who actually came out and helped us, attach every single sign. We had to use a special tool to attach the sign. It wasn't just a sticker, it was something else that we used to attach it really permanently. We also, on the left, you'll see a slightly different setup for cardboard. And that is that's the bin that we use in indoor settings if it's not exposed to the rain. It's slightly larger than a 95-gallon. It folds down so the crew can get to it. And that blue item that I'm holding in my hand is called a clever cutter. And we attach those to all the metal containers to encourage folks to use this clever cutter to slice your cardboard and flatten it and put it inside there. And what we saw is that these worked really, really well. And again, you see similar branding, Recycling Center at University Lofts. You see similar branding as part of a sort of place-making initiative for these different recycling centers. And then this was a result for Fix One. And this was really within the first couple of weeks of launching the program. We had done a little bit of tabling, but not very much. And as you see, it's just it's a surprisingly clean waste stream. I'm not going to say we don't get any contamination, but I'm consistently surprised when we spot check these, how well they are managed in terms of the students themselves who are sorting them and putting them in. Students are consistently appreciative of them, grateful for them. And even if the bin has been full and overflowing, we'll see folks will put their plastic bottles right next to the bin. So rather than contaminating it elsewhere or leaving it on the ground far away, they'll put it right next to it, or they'll put it in a bag and put it right next to it. So they have actually taken it really seriously to help us sort these materials and keep them separated. So from a material that we're collecting standpoint, those are pictures that we've taken kind of a number of times, and we consistently, not 100% of the time, but more often than not, see a really quality waste stream. So you see red is for the plastic bottles, that's plastic 1 and 2. Green is for glass. We get almost no contamination there. blue is for paper, and the cardboard you can see has actually been flattened and put within that 95-gallon bin. The lid was lifted up, but it was placed within there versus open boxes that would take up a lot of space. And then fix number 2, improve scheduling. So I mentioned earlier that we were very kind of reactive. We had a lot of overflows, and it sort of became this issue where the crew wouldn't service it. So then it would be really terrible. So then they wouldn't want to serve it. And it was this really bad cycle. And so at one point we realized that we really need to make this a very formal schedule. And so we made, and even though I'd say visit the commons, doing these maps and route sheets that made it really visual, and we split it up into two areas of responsibility. So one crew member is responsible for cardboard, and the commons, specifically the one that has 3,000 students, we could service that one every single day. And so we put that on a schedule every single day. So Monday you hit the commons first, Tuesday you hit the commons first. And even making that schedule, it was still a lot of practice and follow up to get the crew to actually do it every single day. And basically once they made that switch and realized, oh, if we do it every single day, it's not so terrible and we can maintain it. And now that they've had the experience of doing it that way, now they are really reliable. Nope, I got to do the commons before I leave, because if I don't do it today, it's going to be crazy tomorrow. So making that schedule and then really having a lot of conversations with them about that to get them on board with it. So that has really helped a lot with the cardboard piece. And then on the far right, those circles are where our different residence halls, and there's some information there in terms of what they're supposed to service, if they need access, who they call, where they should dispose these materials. So it's a cheat sheet that I can give to any of the crew members to train them on it. If they haven't done it in a minute, they can remind them of how to get access and how to get into certain areas. And it really sort of sets expectations that when we say, go service the residence hall, the residence centers, here's the map and you know exactly what to do. And you're not skipping this building because you don't like it, or skipping that building because you didn't know how to get in. It created a standard that they could follow across the board. And so those, making it really regularly scheduled. And as you see, twice a week is when we're doing the residence halls, except for cardboard, when we're doing more frequently, especially for the commons. But having a visual map-based route sheets with instructions has really helped us in terms of and making sure there's time in folks' schedule. Like Tuesday is the day that you're going to do this, or Wednesday after lunch is the day you're going to do this, so that there's time for it and not just, oh shoot, we haven't been there in a minute, we should go see how it's doing, and then we find out it's terrible. So that improved scheduling has helped a lot, just making that consistent and shareable. And then another fix is the reverse vending machines. And so I mentioned we've got 5 or 6 residence halls. 3 or 4 of them host residential recycling centers, but there's 2 that cannot accommodate a residential recycling center, just the way it's set up. There's not a dock, there's not a place to put it. And so we sort of at first kind of just shook our head and said, well, I don't know what to do about there. I guess we won't have recycling, we'll come back to it. And then towards the end of last year, we installed one of these reverse vending machines. It looks like a vending machine, but rather than getting your bottles or cans out, you put your empty bottles or cans in. They've got robotics and sensors and kind of smart technology where it'll scan the item and it'll determine based on weight, based on whether, based on the scanning code, et cetera, whether it's a can or a plastic bottle. If it is, the conveyor belt will suck it into the system and actually compact it on site and sort it. So you've got cans on one side and plastic bottles on the other. If it's not one of those items, or if it's full, the conveyor belt will push it out. And so it won't accept that material. So when you open this up, and you look inside, it's extremely clean material, to the point that Coca-Cola actually takes our plastic bottles from these machines and makes more plastic bottles out of them. They're still food grade, basically. Whereas plastic bottles that go through single stream are not necessarily food grade plastic. They can be recycled other ways. And these are high capacity. So it's about 1,000 items between servicing. And because of the way it's set up, we're able to have interns that run this program. And so this lessened the workload on the crew. The interns love to service them. They really like being involved in this project. And so it's really sort of a win-win process. So we set these up in the residence halls, in one of the residence halls, and it was so successful that we literally have to be there once a week, sometimes twice a week, depending on what day we get out there. So those are working really well. And that's the thing that has worked so well. We're going to bring it to the other residence halls that can't accommodate something else. but it's a good program, and they're very, even though it's technology, I've worked with these for several years and they're not glitchy. We've yet to have a tech problem with them. They're very sturdy. The fourth fix was we had a student from GSU who graduated and started a tech company around this. And so we worked with her to launch this app called Eco to sort of gamify recycling. So folks can take a photo of an item and identify what this item is. Is it a plastic bottle? Is it a book? What is it? And then, is it recyclable? Yes or no? And what are the instructions to recycle it here at GSU? And then folks can see how much they're recycling compared to their peers. They can get discount codes, but ultimately it lets them kind of ask the question of, I'm not sure how to handle this. Can I recycle it? Yes or no? And it provides information that's tailored to our campus. And then, outreach and education, I think we did a good job updating our website content to explain better the recycling program. And I know folks will say, oh, students don't read websites, but we have been surprised at the minute detail on our website that folks will read back to us because they scanned it. We end up having, I think, 6 or 7 different pages. So recycling is its own sort of landing page within sustainability, but within there's 6 or 7 different tabs. So it's actually really easy to read through. It probably takes 10 minutes, but if you want to just know about the residence hall recycling, you come here, you see pictures of what it looks like, you see some content. And then again, our labels and our bins are color coded. And so our color coding on the screen that you see on the right has some information that's red, just like our plastic bottles bin is red, and it's got a little bit of high level information. So you should be able to read this and walk away knowing how to recycle properly, having addressed some of those high level questions. And then, outreach, tabling, and social media, we end up, saying that the labels can speak for themselves. So as you see on the left, when we table, we will just take the labels out with us and say, here's the label that you're going to see. Let me make sure you understand what to put in the bin when you see this label or this color coding system. And that's worked really, really well. And then we've done some recycling tours where we come out and show folks the bins, explain how to use them. And then we did a lot of content on our Instagram page about recycling. And we call our campaign Recycle the State Way. And we notify folks, hey, we put some new bins here. We did a makeover. We upgraded some bins in this area. Here's what they look like. And we've been, again, like surprised by just the amount of engagement that we get on a lot of our recycling related content. So we've been really pleased with that. And then one last tip, I just want to highlight these 2 tools again. This is what we have in some of our internal docs for cardboard, and it was so successful at the Residential Recycling Center that we said we've got to use this tool everywhere. So anywhere there's a dock at this point, we place these metal wire containers out with this giant label that says cardboard dry and flattened. We attach this blue Clever Cutter tool to it, and we did blue because those are our school colors. There's a lot of colors you can pick based on what your school's colors are. We tie it there, and then our crew services these, once a week or more, depending on how busy it is. And we're constantly surprised at how much, if you have this set up, we don't even have to educate folks. They will go and they will break the boxes down, and our crew will be able to keep docks more clean than they were previously and be able to have a place to capture the cardboard versus having it spill out other ways. So this setup is just really great for anyone who collects their cardboard and keeps it separate from the rest of the stream. So I want to just highlight that because we have found it so helpful for us from a cardboard standpoint. And then that's it. There's information. Follow us on @SustainableGSU if you're on Instagram.
That's great. Thank you, Jennifer, so much. That was wonderful. Lots of questions, super interesting topic. Obviously, we had a lot of registrants here today, and I've seen the most questions I've ever seen after a single presentation. So just about time for 1 or 2. We're gonna start real quick. Are the 6 Georgia State staff, are they full-time Monday through Friday? Are there any student staff?
So the 6 staff are full-time Monday through Friday. We've had staffing shortages just like everywhere else. And so we do have a few temp folks that eventually we've made full-time, but it's about 6 or 7. And then we do have a couple of interns as well, but they are doing more, they do the tabling or they service the RVMs. They are not physically servicing anything else.
What are RVMs?
Oh, the reverse vending machines.
reverse vending machines. Okay,
Yep.
great. Does the question about cleanliness, the pictures look great. Does the area around the bins shown generally stay as clean as they appear in your pictures, or is there overflow issues, wind issues, opening bins, stuff like that?
It generally stays okay. We do have to every once in a while go and like sweep it up or ask the ground crew to sweep it up, but it's not even a weekly cleanup, honestly. What we again have noticed is we really need to stay on top of pickup. We can't let like days at a time or weeks at a time pass. But if we do a good job keeping it clean, if we service it regularly, then it stays clean and folks don't just dump outside of it. They are in kind of locked off areas. So 2 of them are in parking garages where students are going to be walking, in and out from the building to get to their cars. So they're in parking garages, and 1 of them is outside, but it's behind a locked gate, and it's by where the security guard is. So we don't have problems with it though.
Great. All right, wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer, so much. I think some folks are really interested in the name of those metal cardboard collection bins. So if you want to drop that in the chat, some folks would be interested in that.
Yeah.
And then also for everyone, there's a bunch of questions in the Q&A that maybe Jennifer has some time to answer, or other folks can answer as well. I'd like to move on so we have enough time for Carla. But again, Jennifer, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to Carla Iansiti at Michigan State University. Let me get that up and running here. There we go. I'd like to welcome Carla Iansiti again from Michigan State University. Carla is the front-facing expert for sustainability information efforts for the Division of Student Life and Engagement for policy initiatives and best practices. She's a seasoned strategic leader, fostering positive behavior and culture change throughout the campus. Carla has been at MSU for 26 years in her role as a sustainability officer for the Division of Student Life and Engagement for 15 years. Welcome, Carla. Thank you for being here. And I will stop sharing and you can take it away.
After what Georgia State, I'm afraid I don't know if I can live up to that. That's great. So let me get my presentation up here and share this so I can. Mine's got a little bit different angle. Let's see, where's my presentation at? There we go. And can we see that? Okay. Oh, did it share? Can you guys see that? Okay. Okay. So yes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Michigan State University and how we're decentralized, give you a little bit of the stat numbers that we have. I am the officer in student life and engagement, which is the housing and food piece and everything wrapped around student services, student engagement, all the connections, the fraternities, all that stuff. We do have an office of sustainability, where the directives come from. So in other words, if they tell me what they want done, I break it down into a way that we can manage it inside our halls. So I do a lot of the coordination between the student pieces, registered student organizations. I partner with the culinary services, the housing piece, facilities piece, that type. I keep track of the academic partnerships because everybody always wants to figure out where they live, where they eat. So that's where I'm housed in the planning and projects office. So my direct report is a team of the health and safety officer, the designers, project managers. And so that's where I'm housed. So I have a divisional view over all of campus. And we currently have, this is kind of how it's laid out right here. This is all reporting to Venny up in the top. This is how big my division is right here. And I am a party of one. I have 2 students that I try to keep with me the best I can. I'm really trying desperately to have eco ambassadors, which are representatives in each of these green areas. And then I have a group of students that I pay a stipend for. I have 13 right now, and I pay them only $100 a semester. They don't have hours to punch in, but I provide them a lot of training and opportunity so they can know everything that sustainability is and join government meetings. They can go to their floor meetings and just have that conversation with people to kind of teach them what to do in the buildings. I have found that out to be more proactive than somebody hanging a sign. So having word of mouth and having people do that. And given our size, we have About 17,000 students are housed with us right now. We've got 28 residence halls. We have 52,000 people enrolled here. We have apartments, we have townhouses, we've got family housing, we have a hotel. We have 2 mobile order locations that students can take their food out. We've got 7 full-scale dining halls. We got 22 retail coffee shops. We've got concept dining, which is like Panda Express and Panera's and stuff are in here. We control all the vending, and then we also have like a combo exchange where students have all this access to food that if you can't make it into the dining halls, you get a combo exchange, which is an entree, a side, and a drink that you can get on your meal card out of the hall. So that generates a lot of extra packaging and things like that. So yeah. And we have a decentralized campus and we are self-operated. So we have a lot of different things. So we move this down here. Next slide. So how we start all this is our strategic plan. So the Office of Sustainability has a 2030 goal of 50% reductions. What can we do? So this is kind of where we're taking our information from. We have just hired a new sustainability director. We lost our last director last January to cancer. She passed away with breast cancer. So we've been kind of holes for a little while. So we're holding it together. And as of Monday night, you're aware, we're still trying to hold it together. So we have a new director that will be starting in April. And so this is our strategic plan that we're going to be working from. We have our own recycling plant. You know, one of the really fantastic things that Michigan State has here is we have our own plant. So they are able to pick up, they are great partners. We have full-scale food waste dining operations. We have a pre-consumer dining operation that we collect for vermicomposting. They turn that into compost. They turn around and sell it to the public. We have a post-consumer program at Brody where it's a pulper and that gets sent to make energy for part of campus. And then we have the other part of a pre-consumer program that's going to a local vendor off campus. So we are really got a good handle on the food waste operations that we have around here. But you can see in these pictures here, you can see we have a big MRF. We make our own bales. They work on the market when it comes to the plastic and the cardboard, and it's like Wall Street when it comes to those materials. And they are able to sell those materials back to pay the mortgage on this building. This is a gold certified LEED building. And so this is one of our biggest showcases that we have here. We also have a surplus connected to that. So our big move in and move out programs are very, very successful. So when we move in, we set up recycling stations and gailers and everything. And we have about a 60% capture rate at move in when we have, 17,000 students moving in a week. And then we have a move up program that we capture about 40%. So that's all their furniture, that's all their ironing boards, it's all that kind of stuff. We take it to the surplus store and then again, they can turn around and sell that back to the public. We partner with the recycling folks because we are able to do a lot of trash sorts and types of things like that. And on the bottom left, you can see that's our food waste containers. So they're also taking care of picking up our food waste on a daily basis. So these guys in this office are working 7 days a week that are taking these materials from us. So it's not anything that I have to worry about to go off campus. We do have a place to do that. Here example, you can see what our diversion rates are. We do have a better diversion rate when we have the residence halls with a kitchen attached. The culinary services do a very good job in recycling processes and standards we have up there. Right now, you can see each one of these has a kitchen. And if we have a residence hall that doesn't have any kitchens, the residence halls are more about a 23% diversion rate, and we do better. I need to move the slides over here. Okay. So you can see our recycling rate. So if you include the academic side of campus, I'm only half the campus with all the housing piece, and our diversion rate is roughly, 37%. You can see that. And we have a 57% if you include all the academic halls. They don't have a lot, but just paper and plastic or plastic bottles from people going to classes. So that's a pretty good clean strength. So we depend on a lot of the academic buildings to do that. Now, a lot of things that we are facing, where my story is a little bit different here. We're not as organized as you guys are, Jennifer. I would love to come see you guys. We have a lot of aging infrastructure here. And as you can see, 1855, that's when campus was built. And so we're working with a lot of small spaces, compactor spaces, all these kinds of areas that are just kind of caving in before us. So we're looking for ways that we can try to work with what we have. We have a lot of packaged meals and combo exchanges here at this institution. As a matter of fact, I do a food donation program at the end of the semester, and last year, finals week, just to get the food out of these student rooms, we collected 12,000 pounds of non-perishable foods just from the combo exchanges out of the retail halls that these students collected and did not eat. So I can only imagine the rest of it that I can't get, but it does go back to the community, so we're doing okay there. We are looking at innovation. What's happening right now in our trash and recycling is our big flagship halls used to have incinerators in them on all the floors where you would throw your trash in down the garbage chute, and it used to incinerate back in the 60s. Well, since they got rid of those, we would just throw trash in there. We had built compactors, and we were smashing everything, and we were able to dump it. Well, given the fact that our compactor equipment and everything is aging, we had to change the style of what we do. The compactors are no longer viable. So after fall move-in, right away, because we put extra trash out to help get students moved in, they closed the compactors off for good, and they never opened them back up. This was a little bit of a surprise to me because I thought this was something that we were going to work in, and it was just boom, closed. So when that happened, they shut these down, and we got a residence hall that has 12 floors. So here, for example, I just wanted to kind of show you the size. I'll go back a little bit. Sorry about that. I haven't looked at my PowerPoint in a couple of days. You can see how old some of our buildings are and some of the size that we have and how many rooms. So you can see the occupancy of almost 16,000 kids right here. So this is a lot to manage when we are, 60% turnover staff right now. We're still recovering from COVID and having a high turnover rate. I think we're at 60% new staff right now, as a matter of fact. So this is our fall move-in. We had a 30% forward diversion rate, and we have all our stuff all online. So this is easy for our staff just to go into to figure out what their building is doing, if classes have projects or something like that, or if I can try to share that information. This data is all put out by our own MSU recycling and surplus store. So currently right now we're at 33% diversion rate, and we had 6 million pounds of trash that was collected last semester. And from my understanding, we have collected more trash now than we did last year at this time, based on the new ideas of packaging and marketing. And so we were told, with the fuel costs and everything, we are experiencing a 35% increase on our landfill. So we're trying to find ways of how can we get students to recycle more. Here's an example. What we're doing now is, since the garbage chutes are closed, the students have to walk all their trash outside. So we have very limited spaces by some of these areas that we're trying to put these garbage cans. So if you look at the map on the top left, here's an example of Holmes Hall. You can see all the green bins and the yellow bin there. What that is this is places that we're trying to put 8-yarder containers for students to walk their trash out without getting run over. Well, the lines are implications of where students are coming out of the doors and walking down the operational areas. And we have vendors coming all day long, delivering food, picking up laundry. And we are, I don't want a student getting run over because they've got a big cardboard box in front of them or trash, and they're walking down here to throw it away. So we're analyzing all of our spaces to figure out where students are coming out with their trash. We only have first floor recycling this last year. Years past, prior to COVID, we did have more recycling on the floors, and we had a better handle on that. COVID squashed everything. We were just getting trash everywhere. So everything is currently first floor. We're putting recycling bins, containers outside. You can see how we need to map these areas. We have to add more lighting now. We have to add more curb and gutter right now. We have to do some infrastructure work to get these students to walk out of the building safely, because in that tight spot, if you look up here on the left, you can see students coming out all the way down, walking in the middle, and I could have a great big Country Fresh truck backing up and delivering milk at the same time. So we're having some challenges in that area. So this is all under review right now. And how can we figure out to get that trash out of there? And my beautiful facilities team. So this is the garbage chutes that are on the floors. And this is what they did to them. They taped them all off. I think we have monsters behind the door. I'm not quite sure. We don't have locks on all of them. This room has always been open, but they had to lock this off and secure it like that, because if you look at the bottom left, one of the students just saw a garbage bag on the floor and filled up an entire room with trash. So we're dealing with things like that. We have to get those signs off the wall. We have to put locks on the doors. We're trying to somehow just keep the trash off the ground right now. And then we will start working on something as better recycling practices, where I'm going to be reaching out to Jennifer. I see myself doing that. So in the meantime, trying to do that, these are the eco reps that I had mentioned to talk about to help us do this recycling practices better. So that's where I'm going to use the people touch with that. I kind of went backwards. This is I apologize. So that's where we're trying to come up this year with recycling contests. We now have all the data that we can do little incentives for the building staff that does the best. We can do little gamify things. And this is great information that Jennifer shared. So I can look at some of those machines and look at some of this gamifying stuff to get students to do the right thing. We have green pledges and all that kind of stuff. But that's all I have right there. I came into this with and how we have a problem that we have really gone back 10 years in our processes that we have. And we're really trying to get out of that right now to figure out. All three of my directors and facilities are all brand new. They've all been here less than 6 months. It's incredible what our turnover rate is. So let me see if I have any questions for anybody or anybody has anything for me.
Yeah, thank you, Carla, so much. That's really challenge. Such a challenge. I mean, I thought UVM is a big school in Vermont. It's nothing compared to Michigan State and Georgia State. Those are, you and Jennifer and other folks who are at these big schools. Those are just even bigger cities within cities.
And the enrollment is we're building more rooms to get more people in. They are pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah, same here. Okay, there are a few questions. Thank you again.
Yep.
How do you deal with to-go food containers coming from dining halls that students bring up on the floors?
Oh, those totally suck. So we are trying to use what's happening is we did pilot a reusable container. I had a bunch of students that were very upset, and I have a reusable container pilot, which I didn't talk about today, but I was not able to really kick that off the ground. So I have about 300 people that are successfully doing that, but I had to download the Fill It Forward app, if you know what that is, where you download your information. It tells you your global footprint. But we also had to download another app. So students had to download 2 apps to be able to do this. And they were frustrated with that because the internet can't quite penetrate our concrete buildings once in a while. So our internet is not very strong here. So it's not working out very well. We're using fiberboard and paperboard and everything that we can right now. But right now, the focus is not on sustainability, I'm afraid. And that saddens me because we keep throwing all this food at these students and the packaging is just killing us. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to get out of that. Yeah, not very well.
Yeah, it's challenges. We all have a lot of challenges. So regardless of how nice the presentations look, a lot of us are in the same boat. Oh, I think we had a little frozen moment there. How old is the Michigan State University Surplus Store and Recycling Center facility?
Yeah, so that building, it has been here for 20 years, but that is a new facility that started, I think, in 2009. Yeah, 2009 that was built.
2009. Okay. And someone said they're interested in your thoughts on moving to outdoor collections rather than the trash chute off the hall as a learning process for the students. That's something that I was attracted to, which is why I connected with you in the beginning, is because that's something I always felt would be super important as a learning opportunity for students, is to, we essentially coddle to them to say, hey, here are your bins 25 feet away. What's your thoughts on moving to that sort of system?
We are totally coddling the students right now, and we're having a hard time really trying to get them to take the stuff out. As far as outdoor bins on the campus area, the landscape services group and IPF groups have pulled all those bins off the ground. They're under this assumption now that people will just take their trash to the nearest building and drop their trash off. And we are slowly missing all our outdoor containers. We have a lot of winter, and it gets piled up and people aren't doing the right thing. We don't have a lot of incentives. So it is essentially trash. So when they pull that stuff off the floors, it makes students come into buildings and then we have pileups. I am hoping that with this pilot that we have right now, with these closing down the chutes, that I will be ready by fall to have some things in place to talk about sustainability a lot better, that we can get students to do the right thing. That's all I could do.
Great. And this one is maybe for either of you to answer. How do the financials look for these programs? Is that the primary motive? Is it the financial aspect of it, or is it quote unquote doing the right thing in support of sustainability? Do the revenues generate or offset some of the costs? Be interested in hearing from either of you on that.
So I don't have a lot of money. I have to depend on the facilities teams right now. And so a lot of it just comes out of maybe if it's under $25,000 with our internal budgets. I depend a lot on the MSU Recycling and Surplus. They have grants in writing and they are able to get recycling bins for me. They are able to, I partner with them a lot on the materials and they usually provide them because if they can provide me the materials and I can get the product, they get a turnaround on their bail and recycling to pay the mortgage. So they get the benefit out of the end of this. So they help me out a lot.
Great.
Because I can't buy just a few recycling bins. I need like 10,000.
Right. Jennifer, any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, we have state funding to pay. We would have to have someone pick this up anyway. So whether it's our recycling team is under sustainability. So we just have a specialized crew that does that. You could also have someone for building services that does it. So that money would have to go out one way or another anyway. But we do find that by doing multi-stream, we are able to get a small amount of rebates that offset some of the costs. So we were getting, we've got probably $12,000 or maybe a little bit more just in cardboard last year. I think last year was a high, so obviously that doesn't go very far, but it does let us do certain things. And then we had some funding sources let us do some other big purchases, and I inherited a lot of really nice trucks that have been helpful, and we inherited a recycling center that is not nearly as nice as Carla's. I'm getting serious envy with that, but it is what it is, and we couldn't make it work without that.
Great. Somebody asked Jennifer, what was the recycling app that you mentioned in your presentation?
ECO, so it's ECGO.
ECGO.
Yeah.
And is that a specific Georgia State app that was developed there, or is that something was that a national company's product?
It's a startup, and it was a student who graduated from GSU and developed this during her time here, and then she's also started to work with other universities as well. And so probably doesn't have a national footprint, but probably could easily work with a lot of different universities across the country.
Great, wonderful. And Andrew just put a comment in there saying our biggest issue with outdoor bins is they contaminate the recycling with garbage in the rooms and apartments and then use the plastic bags to bring the stuff down. Any thoughts on that, on Andrew's comment?
That totally happens. We have apartment complexes over here. We have these beautiful, nice recycle bins completely separated out because the recycling plant here wants us to separate everything. We're not single stream. So we have nice little doors and bins, and it is completely contaminated. I have bought them recycling bins to carry stuff down. They don't do that. It's a challenge. And if anybody has a magic pill, I'll take it. And even the state of Michigan isn't quite supportive right now. They're just finally putting legislation in line for us to understand our solid waste. As we get out of the 1960s era, we might get somewhere.
And sorry, was the question about plastic bags?
Yeah, it's in the comment chat section saying our biggest issue with outdoor bins is they contaminate the recycling with garbage in the rooms and apartments and then use plastic bags to bring the stuff down. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love outdoor bins.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We were lucky enough. We removed all our outdoor bins a while ago. We do get some complaints about it here pretty much every semester from students who want us to return them. And luckily if we have the ability to have conversations with them, one-on-one or in a group dynamic, we can explain the rationale for removing them. But again, a smaller campus, it's a little easier to do than, especially in a urban area like GSU, might be more of a challenge because you probably have a lot of people who are not students or affiliated with the university, maybe coming through and accessing different parts of the city. So that's tough. One last question I'd like to ask is, what are some trends that either of you are seeing in terms of, there's such a focus on composting, there's a focus on harder to recycle items. And this whole webinar is about getting back to basics. And I'd love to just hear your last thoughts from either of you about, doubling down our efforts to focus back on recycling programs. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, these really are the bedrocks of our sustainability programs. And this is what students kind of have their first opportunities to get their, dip their toes in the world of sustainability is recycling. Are you seeing things improve, not improve? Are you seeing trends in different areas?
The trends for me real quick, I notice is I have a handful of students that are passionate about it, but yet they don't want to suffer. So all the packaging is coming and the society wanting this convenience of eating back in your room and all this takeout is killing us. the days of going in the dining halls and enjoying a meal with your friends seems to have passed. Everything is mobile ordered, everything is takeout. Now, if I could have a composting program in collection for that point to be able to compost it, then I've got the land, we've got the acres, we can do that. I just don't have one in place yet. We're leaning on academic partnerships, testing and pilots to see if we can pick, get a material that is suitable for that kind of stuff. The kids are awesome into composting and food waste. I mean, they understand how to do that. We've got a robust food waste program. We have closed loop in a lot of areas, but the recycling piece, we have definitely taken a step backwards. We have replaced at least 70% of our staff since COVID. And so we are faced with new people here left and right, and it's definitely a challenge.
Thank you, Carla. Appreciate that.
And I think in addition, so I talked about sort of more traditional recycling at the residence halls because that is what we accommodate. But other places around campus, we actually are collecting just plastic bags, for example, and other places we're collecting appliance styrofoam. We launched a book recycling program. We have a local vendor that will take books and actually give us a tiny rebate for it. So we're able to start keeping that separate. We have a local vendor that's taking our e-waste. And so what we've told folks is, hey, we're asking you to take the time to sort these materials out. But in exchange, we're going to start collecting a whole lot more because we'll be able to accommodate that. And so we've been able to, as part of our move-in, for example, we actually collected cardboard and styrofoam and plastic film. And so we're able to collect a few more things than we would have been able to previously. And I do see, we are in Atlanta. And so because we're in Atlanta in a major area, we have a lot of vendors that are just a few miles away from campus. So it changes the economics for us a lot, very beneficially, to be able to just drive it down the street and have someone who'll take it and sometimes even give us a rebate for it. But we do see, a lot of enthusiasm for that and what we're doing. Not to say it's easy. And there's a lot of things that I think the challenge that it's like we're doing a good job collecting what we have, but we still haven't gotten ahead of how do we just stop bringing so much on campus in the first place.
Right.
And we're so far from like even beginning that conversation.
Yeah. Upstream waste prevention, essentially. Yeah. We're still dealing with the downstream stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're all in this together, which is why we're here. So Carla, thanks so much. Jennifer, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time. I am going to just go to this last slide real quick for some last announcements. And yeah, so this was our first webinar this year, the 2023 webinar series. Again, the next one is going to be in April, so be on the lookout. We don't have it finalized yet, but we'll be sending information and registration out soon. Most likely it's going to be either about laboratory waste and recycling issues in labs, or it could be potentially about conducting waste audits. We're not sure, but most likely it'll be one of those two issues. More info soon. We're always looking for presenters for our webinar series. So if you would like to share your institution's work, please get in touch with us. There is a speaker interest proposal form at our website, which is curc3r.org. Again, that's CURC3r.org. You'll find recordings of today's webinar as well as past webinars in our archives as well. Today's won't be up right away. Give us a few days to get stuff up there, but it eventually will be up there. And one more time, please join me in thanking Jennifer and Carla for their time today. And thanks to Alec and Bush Systems for sponsoring this today. Really appreciate it. And shout out to Jamie Pavey of Kirk for behind the scenes, helping to make sure everything is running smoothly. So again, look for the presentation and recording on the Kirk website. And other than that, if folks want to stick around and chat, that's fine. But thank you for being here today. And we'll see you at the next Kirk webinar in April. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer. Really appreciate it. And Carla, I'm not sure if you're still with us, but thank you for being here. It was great.
So the name of the metal bins, and sorry, I try to answer that. Let me actually just share my screen real quick, if I can. Well, basically it's collapsible wire container. And so do y'all see that, the collapsible wire container?
Yep.
Okay. Uline has it. They're not the only one that has it. This is a product that a lot of companies have. So there's a variety of sizes. Right here, it folds down. so folks can get all the way to the bottom kind of ergonomically. You can get it with wheels, which I would recommend in some locations, not with other locations, but we've had them for almost a year in several locations, and they look new. They look like they did when we installed them. And so that is something that I do think works really, really well.
A lot of people really wanted to know about that tool also.
The Clever Cutter, yes, let me do that. Clever, it's great. We ordered a bunch of these for move-in as well. And so here's that's not exactly what we have. We have a clever cutter. That's a clever concept, but they work. That basically is what it looks like, more or less. I think we might have gotten it from Staples or something. But it's a safety cutter. We bought a ton of these and basically turned them into bracelets for people to move from move-in. And then we just, because it's got that little hook, we tie it to different wires. Or we tie it to the metal wire and let folks use it that way.
Got it. And there's somebody with their hand up that I'm gonna allow to talk if you have a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, Carly.
Hi, sorry, I was wanting to know the name of the metal bin and she just answered that, so thank you.
Okay. And it looks like somebody also answered the question about that reverse vending machine, like from a company called Atlas.
Yeah. Let me try to put that in there. So,
And what was, I know some people, because there was like a Coke logo on that. Is there some kind of affiliation with Coke with that program?
there is an affiliation with Coke, although I don't know what it looked like to not have an affiliation with Coke, but Coke provided us the first 5 at no cost. They're so successful, we are buying 3 more. They're not cheap. They're $5,000 estimate ballpark per reverse vending machine. What I like about them though is they don't ever overflow, and there's no contamination because of the scanner. So we put them in residence halls where they're very popular, but we also put them in areas like where folks are eating. We don't have traditional recycling there because we think it would just be filled with food and contamination, but we'll put them in the not the dining halls, but where folks might get Panda Express or might get Chick-fil-A. We don't have traditional recycling. We'll have just this, and that way we don't get contamination in our recycling bins, and it also doesn't fill up every single day. And so let me put 2 contacts in here real quick. So Renee Bedford is with Atlas Systems, and I'm gonna Atlas contacts. And then, so Atlas is an RVM provider. So they would come out and provide it. They'll work with you to design the wraparound material to look like your company. Look like your university. And so it doesn't, if Coca-Cola is involved, it's probably gonna have a Coke logo on it. But if it's just you can do whatever you want with them. And you could even just theoretically take those materials and put it in your own waste stream. There's nothing stopping you from do that. Our partnership with Coke is that they provided us these, and so they will pick it up. Because Coca-Cola or Atlas pick the cans or plastic bottles up when the machine is full. When the machine is full, our interns pick it up and they put it in a locker. When the locker is full, another company comes and picks those bottles and cans up, and they service that. So our intern will walk the reverse vending machine route every single week and bring back multiple full bags, put it in a locker, and every month he'll email Atlas and say, oh, it's full, we need to pick up. And then they will drive in that way, because the Atlas folks aren't going to have access to our residence halls, right? Like we don't want to assign access to folks to come in and do that. So we keep that internal, but we have a locker in a dock area that's publicly accessible, but also kind of hidden away. And so they will come and service the locker. But if you didn't have a Coke partnership, you could just take those bottles or cans and put that in your compactor or whatever other process you're using. And then the app is Eco, and I am going to put the founder's email here for folks who want to follow up with her and ask her questions about that.
Okay. Perfect. I mean, I think we hit most of the questions and people have your contact, I think, if they had anything else they wanted to follow up with. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions if folks email me individually as well.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.